What if I told you that one of the biggest splits in Christian history didn't start with a war or a king's decree, but with a single monk holding a hammer? The year was 1517. What happened on a quiet church door in a small German town would shake the foundations of Europe, topple centuries of tradition, and divide the Christian world in ways we still see today. So the real question is, why did the Protestant Reformation actually happen? Let's uncover the truth. By the early 1500s, the Catholic Church was not just a spiritual guide, was the most powerful and influential institution in all of Europe. It crowned kings, owned vast lands, and shaped daily life for millions. But with great power, well, you know how the saying goes. Serious problems were brewing just beneath the surface. Corruption was growing. Some high-ranking clergy were living more like wealthy princes than humble servants, building lavish palaces and accumulating personal fortunes. Important church offices were sometimes sold to the highest bidder, not given to the most qualified or devout. And then there was the tipping point for many, the sale of indulgences. These were official documents from the church that people could buy. The promise was that these payments would shorten their time of a loved one in purgatory, the waiting place before heaven. To many ordinary, hard-working Christians, this started to feel less like salvation and more like a spiritual marketplace. It seemed like the rich could simply buy their way into heaven while the poor were left behind. This practice raised a deeply troubling question. Could God's grace really be bought and sold? While this was happening, Europe itself was undergoing a massive transformation. The Renaissance had sparked a new thirst for knowledge. More people, not just priests and nobles, were learning to read and write. New ideas were spreading faster than ever before. And as people began reading the Bible for themselves, many started to quietly ask, is this really what Jesus and the early apostles intended for the church? The pressure was building. The whole system was like a dry forest, just waiting for a spark. That spark came in the form of a man named Martin Luther. He was a brilliant scholar, a dedicated Augustinian monk, and a man deeply personally troubled by the corruption he saw. He wasn't trying to destroy the church he loved. He wasn't trying to start a new religion. He was a reformer at heart. He simply wanted to spark a debate, to call the church back to its core principles. So on October 31st, 1517, Luther took a stand. He wrote down his concerns in a list of 95 points, or theses, challenging the sale of indulgences and calling for a return to genuine faith and repentance. He famously, or perhaps legendarily, nailed this document to the door of the castle church in Wittenberg. In his mind, this was an invitation for an academic debate among scholars. He had no idea what was about to happen next. But here's the game changer, the piece of technology that turned a local debate into a continental firestorm: the printing press. Before this invention, documents had to be copied by hand. But now, Luther's 95 theses could be printed and distributed with incredible speed. Within just a few weeks, his ideas had spread all across Germany. Within a few months, they were being read and debated all across Europe. What started as a scholarly dispute went viral, 16th century style. The cat was out of the bag. Luther was forced to defend his positions, and in doing so, he began to question even more. He challenged the absolute authority of the Pope, arguing that the Bible alone sola scripturorum should be the ultimate guide for Christians. He championed the idea that salvation is a free gift from God, received through faith alone sola fide, not something that can be earned through good works or bought with money. These weren't just theological talking points. They were revolutionary ideas that threatened the entire power structure of Europe. But Luther didn't start this wildfire all by himself. He had help, even if unintentional. Many German princes and kings saw an opportunity to break free from the church's political influence and seize its wealth and land for themselves. The rising merchant class was tired of paying church taxes and wanted more economic independence. And countless ordinary believers were hungry for a faith that felt more personal and authentic, longing to hear the Mass and read the Scriptures in their own language, not Latin. The Reformation spread like wildfire because Europe was ready for it. It was ready for change, ready for answers, and ready to challenge centuries of unquestioned authority. Soon, other reformers like John Calvin in Switzerland and Huldrych Zwingli also gained followers. New movements began to form: the Lutherans, the Calvinists, the Anglicans in England after King Henry VIII's famous break with Rome, and the more radical Anabaptists. Each group was seeking to restore what they believed was the original, true Christian faith. It wasn't just a religious shift, it was a cultural, political, and social earthquake. So, why did the Protestant Reformation really happen? It happened because the abuse of power eventually leads to a breaking point. It happened because new technology allowed dangerous questions to spread faster than they could be silenced. It happened because one monk refused to stay quiet. And it happened because history has a way of breaking wide open when a powerful truth finally demands a voice. If you enjoy exploring these powerful and transformative stories from history, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have so much more to uncover together. Thanks for watching.